The 90s was full of amazing anime. We got the likes of Pokemon, Digimon, Beyblade and many more. These franchises defined many of our childhoods, but one particular show appears to have been largely forgotten. That show, my friends, is called Medabots. Medabots originally started out as a video game franchise, much like Pokemon did. A series of Medabot games released for the Nintendo platforms, and by the tail end of the 90s, a Medabot anime adaptation was greenlit. Studio B-Train animated the first season, which will be the focus of this video. Released domestically in 1999, the series centers around a young boy named Applique, who aims to be the top Meda fighter in the world. Medabots, also known domestically as Medabots, are artificially intelligent robots. These robots are extremely popular amongst children, who use them to participate in duels referred to as role battles. These are akin to, say, trainer battles, but unlike in Pokemon and Digimon, Medabots cannot organically evolve. Instead, similar to how improvements are made to Beyblades, a Medabot's abilities are enhanced by the parts it is given, which can often be modified. Medabots are not only used for the purpose of battle, they can also be used functionally in society in order to serve humans, just like the robots did in the movie I, Robot. Unlike most robots from that movie who must abide by the 3 laws, Medabots are quite similar to Pokemon and Digimon, as they each have their own personalities and quirks. Medabots are made up of 3 key components, so let's briefly cover over them. The first component is the Timpet, which makes up the basic frame of a Medabot. The Timpet is a metallic skeleton with muscle cables as the main component, enabling flexible movements and support for multiple parts with complex shapes. In addition, there are 2 types of models, male and female. The second component is a medal, which is a small hexagonal metal that acts as the Medabot's brain. Each medal provides a Medabot with its own personality, and they perform better or worse dependent on the different parts used. These unique parts are known as Medaparts, which is the third and final component which we will cover shortly. Not all medals are the same. Certain rare medals allow a Medabot to use the Medaforce. In the anime specifically, a Medabot with a rare medal are able to use the Medaforce, which gives the robot a massive power boost for a short period of time. And now onto the final component. Medaparts function as the robot's muscles as well as its weaponry. In battle, these parts determine what kind of abilities a Medabot is capable of using and what kinds of terrain it is better suited to navigate. There are 4 parts a Medabot must wear in order for it to be completely operative. The head part is where the medal is protected. If the head of a Medabot ceases its functions, the medal will eject and the Medabot will no longer be operational. In a battle, the head is the part which has limited abilities, mostly functioning as a protective housing unit for the medal. The parts used for the left arm and right arm determine the other 2 abilities a Medabot can perform. These parts can perform attacks so long as they're active, without restriction, and the Medabot itself is still operative. The parts used for its legs will determine how fast a Medabot is and will also determine the terrain the Medabot will move better or worse in. I plan to do an episode by episode breakdown of Medabots' first season, similar to some of these videos. So if you would like to see that, please do smash the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. The anime series is an adaptation of the first 2 video games, called Medarot 1 and Medarot 2. The show, however, is mainly based on Medarot 2, but also references backstory from the first Medarot game. Some of the characters are written slightly different for the show. Characters like the Phantom Renegade is written to be less of an antagonistic figure, and more so depicted as a Robin Hood-esque vigilante whom sometimes aids Applique in his journey. We follow Applique, an elementary school student who is the only one at school who does not have a Medabot of his own, so you can imagine there's nothing he wants more than to have one. One day, Applique finds a medal in the river, but this is no mere ordinary medal. It is in fact an extremely rare one. An emergency forces him to use up his savings to buy an older model Medabot in order to help his friend Erica. Remember that medal he found? Well, it ends up putting Applique in an odd situation when he soon finds his Medabot he refers to as Meta B is extremely stubborn and does not listen to his instructions. Medabots' sassy personality often leads him to clash with Ikki. The best way I can describe their relationship in the beginning is toxic. But unlike toxicity between two grown adults, their hostilities towards one another comes from a place of childish ignorance. As time passes, they slowly build a friendship based on mutual respect and trust in one another as they go on to become great partners. With Metabot by his side, Ikki is well on his way to fulfilling his lifelong dream of becoming the top-ranked meta fighter, all whilst making new friends and fighting against the evil Robo gang. A great show is nothing without a strong roster of interesting side characters. To temper your expectations here, this is not an anime such as Attack on Titan, Hunter x Hunter or Demon Slayer, where characters have complexly woven backstories. But the strength of these characters are in their quirks, which makes them all the more endearing. Take Ikki's best friend Erika, an aspiring journalist who will do just about anything to get the latest scoop, even if that means putting herself in danger's way. Erika is strong-willed and independent, but she also has a sweet feminine side and a clear soft spot for Ikki, which helps balance out her character. Even seemingly inconsequential characters like, say, Coach Mountain, one of the school faculty, has a charm to him. He's initially depicted as a meme character who's completely obsessed with exercise. I mean, he even hates Medabots for no other particular reason but because he feels they distract the kids, which prevents them from pursuing more physical activities. Well, it turns out he's actually a sweetheart, as he used up all his funds to kit out his own Medabot he named Digimon. The reason, you ask? Well, the reason is so that he can roll battle against a gangster who refers to himself as Big Brother. You see, this gangster is trying to purchase a plot of land in the coach's neighborhood. So what's the big deal with that, right? Well, the issue is that the neighborhood children have always wanted somewhere they could go and play. So Coach Mountain promised to build a park for them by purchasing that very land. Every penny he would earn, he was saving towards purchasing that land. The local crook refused to back out of his bid to buy the land. So, Coach Mountain purchased Digimon in order to get Big Brother to back out by defeating him in a raw battle. Not only are the human characters funny and interesting, so too are the Medabots themselves. Take Metabot for example. For me, he's the real star of the show. He's quick-tempered, easily offended and stubborn, often causing problems for Ikki due to his headstrong personality. To add, he also starts off extremely disobedient to his owner. But with that said, Metabot is loyal to those he cares about and has his own unique way of expressing how much he cherishes them. The relationship between he and Ikki starts off toxic as hell, with both tearing into one another over the smallest of things. This makes for some hilarious exchanges between the two, and I also love how respectful Metabot is towards Ikki's parents, which only further grinds his gears as his Medabot slowly steps into his role as their son. Oh, and then there's this guy, called Mr. Referee in the dub or Mr. Aruchi in the original. This geezer literally appears out the blue to officiate all the role battles. Doesn't matter whether it takes place on the schoolyard or in another galaxy, he'll be there. I found him so annoying in the earlier episodes, but he really does grow on you as the season progresses, as it's evident he's an honest man who loathes cheating, and anyone caught doing so when he's refereeing a match will not go away unpunished. The animation for the most part is quite rough around the edges, and that's made more apparent in episodes where significant battles unfold, which are far more polished in comparison. But look, most 90s anime weren't exactly mind-blowing in the animation department, and you may argue that some of them played it safe. Take a look at the first season of Pokemon. Battles lack movement, and so too to a lesser extent was the case with Digimon. Whereas Medabots took a much more shonen-like approach to their battles, where movement was plenty along with all the extravagant fireworks too, so I can give them a pass on that front. If you're planning to watch Medabots with the intention of seeing jaw-dropping animation, then this is not the show for you, as this show targets a much more younger demographic. If you grew up in the 90s and early 2000s like me, you may be pleasantly surprised by Medabots' artwork, even if you haven't watched it before. The artwork has that 90s charm, that old school grit often associated with the anime of old. Let me ask you a question. Are you one of those people who watched Medabots as a kid? If the answer is yes, then let me ask you a follow-up question. Did you forget about Medabots? It saddens me to say this, but so many who grew up watching Medabots forgot about it. It's understandable, as I mentioned at the start of this video, the 90s and even the early 2000s had some awesome anime, so it's hard for our memory banks to keep track of them all. This is the main reason why I wanted to make this video, is to remind those select few of you who may have forgotten about the show to give it a rewatch. You'll be shocked by how quick those memories from your childhood come flooding back to you upon rewatching the show. I also understand that a 50+ episode season is a huge commitment of time, and most of you watching, I'm presuming, are adults, working either full-time or running a business alongside maybe raising a family too. So if you guys would like me to do an episode-by-episode breakdown of Medabots' first season, you can let me know in the comments below. Now, for those of you who have never watched Medabots before, would I recommend you watch it? The answer is maybe. Why? Well, that's because it depends on a couple of things. If you're someone who grew up watching the likes of Dragon Ball, Pokemon, Digimon, Beyblade, and let's just say the original Hunter x Hunter and so forth, then yes, I absolutely recommend giving Medabots a go. It's not only the artwork that will give you that nostalgic feeling of going back to the simpler times of the 90s, but it's also the way in which the characters behave and interact with one another, coupled with its unique humour, makes it a delight to watch in my opinion. For those of you who didn't grow up watching anime, and maybe you got into anime more recently, you may not find Medabots to be a compelling watch. But if you can spare an hour of your time, just watch the first 3 episodes to get a flavour of the show, because you never know, it may just tickle your fancy. That's it for this one, folks. If you liked the video, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts about Medabots in the comment section below. Many of us hold the show near and dear to our hearts, so I'd love to hear your opinions on it. On that note, I will see you on the next one. This is Ray, signing off. Peace.